All right, everybody, welcome to WESPN. First week of March is pretty much in the books. And Scott, you got a nice little tan on you. What happened?
Well, I went down to the Dominican Republic for 7 days. It was amazing.
Nice.
85 and sunny all day, every day. You get those few little spurts of clouds that just clear themselves up, in an hour. So I love it.
Almost a relief. Almost a relief from the heat. And I saw you looking at some real estate down there. What's that market? What's that market?
Oh, it's definitely pretty interesting. I mean, totally different. A lot higher risk out there. After going to see some properties there, I do see why people love Canada as an investment option, just with our strong government system, strong banking system, and all that stuff. So totally different game out there. A lot of development happening. They're basically trying to turn Cap Cana into the new Punta Cana.
Okay.
Punta Cana is like a big city. Cap Cana is like supposed to be the next big thing. So that's where we were kind of hanging out. Pretty good vibes, but it's to take your money and actually invest in some of that stuff, it just seems a lot more risky than your North American properties here.
I have a feeling that they cannot do it.
Oh man!
All right,
I quit.
All right, we're done. Glad to have you back as always. You're always missed when you're not here.
Thank you.
Now, no sponsor today because this is straight. Got to get straight to the goods. Market stats just came out for February, and this one's all business, right? That's why we're standing up too, because we're not sitting down because it's business time, and when it's business time, we stand.
Every time.
When it's business time, we stand.
Every time.
Let's get into it. We're gonna hit you with February numbers that just came out. They're extremely interesting. We're going to compare 2024 to 2023, and we're even going to go to 2022 to give you some perspective as well. And Scott, first we're going to start with the total number of listings for the month. For February, we had 878 listings compared to last February, where we had 818. So difference of about 60 listings, although the market feels like it's the inventory is low, which it is. We've had more listings than we did last year as compared to 2022 where we had 900 listings. Wait for it though, it gets interesting as we move on here. Number of listings year to date, 1,734, so that'd be January and February together. Last year to date, we had 1,622, and 2022 year to date, 1,618. So the numbers are all kind of the same this year compared to last year compared to 2022. But wait, because it does get interesting. Number of sales for the month. This year in February, 386. Last year, February, 367. 2022, 710.
Jeez, 50%.
2022 was a ride.
It really was.
At the start of the year. Well, it was a ride the whole year, but it was definitely a ride up the start of the year. Now, number of sales year to date. This year, so this is January and February, 741. Last year, January and February, 681. 2022, January and February, 1,000.
Oh man.
254. We're almost double across the board. Total sales volume, so that's the value of real estate sold, 217 million and change this year. That was just for this February. 210 million last February. 511 million in February of 2022, which is more than year to date that we have right now. Year to date, 420 million in real estate has sold in Windsor, Essex County. Last year, 368 million, so there's quite a big rise. And 2022, 857 million dollars, almost $1 billion real estate just in January and February. So there it is.
So, I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, obviously 2022, around February was when the market peaked. And what I noticed about 23 and 24 over this time, January, February of these 2 years, the difference there is that in 2023, we were trending lower, right? So we saw the same number of sales or similar number of sales, but the total sales volume was lower. Whereas now, this January, February, we're actually starting to trend higher. So I think that's the big difference there. But the 2022 numbers, that was just, I don't know if we'll ever see that again. That was like the zero interest rate kind of environment there. And then they went with, 10 straight rate hikes, sometimes, 3/4 of a point at a time, like pretty crazy there. Brought the market to a halt. And now, as everybody probably knows today, we had another pause for the 5th straight time. which is bringing stability to the market and allowing people to actually make some informed decisions now. Very tough to do that when you're getting hit with a rate hike every quarter when the Bank of Canada announces.
That's a great point, actually, and not interrupt you like I always do, but bring some stability to the market.
Exactly.
So the buyers are definitely back. The buyers are definitely out there. I think we said that last episode as well, because there's more stability out there. Whereas before, if you bought something now and you closed it in 90, 120 days, your mortgage payment might be totally different depending on your pre-approval and all that stuff. Whereas now, if you bought something today and you closed in 120 days, you might be in a pretty good spot. Again, the crystal ball's put away, but it sounds like the rumblings are that they're going to come down this summer.
Yeah, that's what Benjamin Tallis needs to be thinking, the economist from CIBC. And when there's, what am I trying to say here? I had a good quote, but I lost it. But they are predicting the rate hikes are off the table now. Inflation came in at 2.9%, still higher. They need it at 2, right? Or at least a sustainable path towards 2. It's still pretty sticky at the top with all the important stuff like food inflation and the things that we have to spend money on every day. So we're not ready to cut rates. I think they're doing the right thing, by the way, by not cutting them. As much as I want them to, as a real estate agent, investor, and all that stuff, it's not the right time. We could end up with a double dip of inflation, which would be bad for everybody. So Benjamin Tallis kind of signaling maybe a June cut. Honestly, it seems kind of early to me. I don't know how we get from 2.9 to 2 or close to 2 in that short a period of time, given what we're seeing right now. But here's the thing. I don't think we need rate cuts, right, for the real estate market to trend higher, because when you have consistency in the market, and then people can make informed decisions. And then when you have consistency, fundamentals play out. Okay, the fundamentals have not been fixed here, folks, which is we don't have enough housing. We have too many people looking for housing. That means prices are going higher. When there's instability, there's indecision. Nobody can make any decisions. Everybody's on the sidelines. Nobody's really doing anything. We saw that reflected in the numbers. Now that we have stability, buyers are back out there. The buyers never left. They just weren't pulling the trigger out of fear and uncertainty.
And they weren't confident. They couldn't buy with confidence that they knew what was going on.
The game was being changed every week.
The news cycle has changed for the positive now, and that reflects on the average sale price. Average sale price in February in our market was $576,000. That's a raise of about $41,000 from January. That's 10%.
That's a big raise. Am I right? Yeah.
It's a big raise.
And that's the problem with sitting on the sidelines or trying to time any market, real estate, stocks, whatever, it doesn't matter. Trying to time the market, especially when you have a supply-demand imbalance, those numbers can turn on you very quickly, and all of a sudden you get a 10% raise. You could have bought the same house that you're buying for $575 now for $535 30 days ago, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Those are the kind of jumps that I'm seeing. Again, not to stoke fear, but like I'm just talking the general dangers of trying to time the markets in general. $40,000 is a lot of money, and So, any other big takeaways here from all this data? Also, what does it tell us about the coming future months, 3, 6, 12, 18 months here?
Well, the conversations I'm having at the listing table right now are, if we're having conversations last summer, fall, winter, and you bought at those peak numbers, you're taking a loss pretty much, right? It's just not happening. But the conversations and the listing appointments I've been on this week for people that have bought at the peak, again, I'm listing in East Windsor townhome mid-month, is, man, they might make a couple bucks on this, right? Which is fantastic.
So you're saying they bought at the peak, selling now, which obviously we're not back to the peak, we're nowhere near it really, and they might be able to break even and possibly even make a little bit of money in this particular situation.
Correct. Where if I'm having that conversation last year, it's this is probably how much you're going to end up losing. Respectfully, I didn't purchase the property with them, and they may have paid a little bit higher, but it looks like they're going to get out okay.
Yeah, fair. And keep in mind, last year the market was trending down, so every month it was getting a lower and lower comparable sale. Now we're getting higher and higher comparable sales every month, every week, really.
Yeah.
I've lost 4 offers this week for clients, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. We're coming in with comps. We're even taking our comps and adding on 5, 6, 7% to them because we know the market's changing rapidly, and it still hasn't been enough this week. I don't mind losing, don't get me wrong. We don't want to overpay, but that wasn't happening even in January. Early January wasn't happening.
I agree.
December, October, all the months in 2023, really, it was, this wasn't the case, right? So,
so now one more point about these market stats. So the rise in the average sale price happened last year as well, and we rose all the way until May when we went up to 602,000 on the average sale price for May, and then we started to drop because the interest rates rose. They rose 2 times in a row, and now we're trending. We'll have that same trend this year, but again, what happens when they do come down? Like the market's going to keep going up, I feel like.
Yeah, I think we might be able to hit that same mark over 600,000. The way I'm seeing things shape up right now in the supply-demand imbalance without rate cuts, personally,
Yes.
right? Because we're not at the peak of this yearly cycle. We tend to peak in sometime around May, the last 3 years. But you're right. If we do add a rate cut to the mix, whether it's in May or even later, we might see that previous high from 2023 beat again this year. Actually, I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
And now we've got layers of, and I know how much you love fundamentals. I mean, you're Mr. Fundamentals over
There's no
here.
fun without fundamentals.
That's it. It's not new car for Stellantis.
Yeah,
Okay. So a little bit more fundamentals layered into our market with all the other stuff that we've talked about before. Now the biggest news with the new car for Stellantis is that now there's talks of that third shift coming back, right?
Potentially, yeah, around 700 jobs Stellantis announced. Now that's not for sure.
No.
But that third shift really, to me, it solidifies Windsor's position as the automotive capital of Canada. We've been that way for 100 years. I can see another 100 years. We've got the Stellantis battery plant, all those tertiary component makers in the area, the tool and die shops, the Gordie Howe Bridge right there, and 100 years of blue-collar worker history here in the city. If you're going to build a plant, you need to go somewhere where the workers are, right? You can't bring it to Waterloo. It's all white-collar jobs there. You got to go where the know-how is.
Yeah.
So that's why Windsor is always going to be a solid place. I don't think Canada is ever going to let our position in the automotive industry die. What they do is they incentivize it. They give all these handouts to the automotive makers, which I don't necessarily agree with. It's very inflationary to give billions of dollars to a giant corporation like Stellantis. And yes, it causes a lot of spin-off problems like rising housing prices in the city. But my point is that they're not going to let the automotive market die.
Right.
You know, they've proven that over and over again. It's always the fear when I talk to people, oh, Windsor's, you know, they only have the automotive industry. Okay, well, even if that was true, which it isn't, still a pretty good industry to be in when you're this big and this important to the entire economy of a country.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so that's, I think, 700 jobs, like we said there, and that's just on top of everything else we talk about.
Now, if we go, let's go professional to professional. My gut and my realtor instinct is telling me that this market is going to get very, very, very busy. I can feel it right now. When I look at the numbers and I sit in my office and we're running numbers and outlooks and stuff like that, it feels like a pretty healthy market right now.
Yeah, I would say like the prices are rising. It's not rising at the same pace it was in like 2022, where it was like huge jumps where it was like neck breaking pace.
Yeah.
But it's starting to like kind of get to that pace. But that's also because nobody's listing their houses right now. We're not in peak listing season, which typically comes in the summer, right? Everybody's gearing up. Kids are out of school. That's when people list their homes. That's when the inventory comes on the market. But from now until the summer, I'm going to anticipate some pretty rapid rising prices. Unless something changes, I think one thing has been solidified. I don't think we're going to see any more rate hikes.
Yeah.
You've even had Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, come out announcing to the Bank of Canada, which is supposed to be an independent institution free from any government influence, and he's telling the Bank of Canada, hey, people are hurting, you got to cut rates, right? Yeah. The banks, the big five banks, are echoing the same sentiment, which is, hey, we've got negative amortizations on 25% of our mortgage portfolio. You got to do something here. It was your fault to begin with by keeping rates too low, right? And now you've buried all the citizens, the banks, and everybody else with your, you got it wrong. They got it wrong. Okay, they kept it too low. So anyways, there's a lot of outcry. I don't think we're going to see any more rate hikes. Now it's a matter of time before the rate cuts.
Yeah.
The calls are for June, but I think that might be a little bit early from what I'm seeing. We'll see.
Yeah, and I'm completely fine if they maintain them and don't cut them. To be honest, now the other layer I'm seeing into the market right now, is in the past 60 days we've had 11 properties sell 1.3 million or above, where last year, I mean, they just weren't moving.
Yeah.
It was just the money was way too expensive. There was no confidence in them. But when we see that market move, even one all the way up to 2.85, and these are stuff that some of this stuff has been sitting there for a while. So what I'm seeing is the stuff that felt overpriced before and was sitting there for a while. Well, guess what? The market's starting to catch up to it. So if you had your property listed last year, I mean, it's time to get the property back onto the market, because it's a different market. It's been a different market since the end of January. And if you struggled to sell last year, now's your time to shine. We need the listings and we need the inventory. And most importantly, when I say we, the buyers need it. The buyers are out there. The buyers are looking. The buyers are very active, and they're writing 15 offers here, 5 offers there, 20 offers there. Those 4 properties that you lost on, how many offers are on those properties?
7, 8, 12, 14, like
Right? So-
just a mix. And these were not the 200-300K. We're talking 500-600 range, where it's that kind of mid range. But it's important to know, like, these higher priced properties, somebody selling something probably bought one of these, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they said, hey, you know what? I used to be able to sell my house for $1 million. Now I can only get 750, 800. I'm going to pause. But now all of a sudden they're getting $1 million. That allows them to take that next jump up. So the seller market at the lower end and mid range often fuels the higher stuff. And that lower mid range is really back right now, because people are realizing, 300-400K is going to disappear.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like what's selling for 300-400K, so they jump up to 5-6, and then that 5-6 fuels the 7-8, and then the 7-8 fuels the 9-10, and it becomes a driving force higher, and that's what we're seeing right now. And you're right, though, we need inventory. So if you're sitting on something right now, the buyers are out there where they weren't before.
100%. And again, it's exciting out there again, right? Again, professional to professional. It just has a sense of excitement. It feels like we're back, baby. It feels like we're back.
It was pretty quiet for a while. It was pretty quiet.
But which allows you an opportunity to work on some other things. But I like working on things to get done for my clients.
Absolutely.
That's always
Nothing more
always
fulfilling.
nothing the best than being at that negotiation table and that kitchen table. That's where we live and absolutely breathe. Now, Scott, last point here. Tecumseh, zoning, grants. Talk about it.
Yeah, so a lot of people are probably not going to like this, especially if you live in Tecumseh. We just got the announcement that they got approved for the Housing Accelerator Fund, about $4 million in funding, because they are allowing up to 4 units on any lot in the town. Okay, so there's no more single family zoning. It's basically done away with.
So this is the one that Windsor opted out against, but Tecumseh says that
Yes.
it's not official yet, but it's...
That one's a done deal.
Okay.
The Tecumseh did approve it. So, you might be sitting on a nice... What's interesting is Tecumseh is one of the least dense areas in the county. It's all mostly single-family homes. And now people have the right to build 4 units. So you can buy a single-family lot, put the 4 units there. So...
They were crushed too, especially in Tecumseh.
Oh, man, people want to be in Tecumseh.
Yeah, and the rents will be higher, so... For investors, it's
yeah, and this is the thing. Like, there's spin-off effects from this. Not only might you have a fourplex next to you, whereas before it's all single-family homes. It might raise the value of people looking for lots or small homes, 200-300K, because a developer might look at that and say, hey, you know what? That used to sell for 350K, but I can pay 450 because I can get 4 units on that.
Right.
So now they're going to be competing with those first-time buyers. And I can see why people are maybe upset about this.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side of the coin, we have a dire housing shortage. The only way to get these units built is to have them in the city, in the core areas. You can't keep suburbanizing everything. It doesn't work long term, because you have to keep building infrastructure.
Well, look at not to interrupt you again, but look at the leasing market right now, right?
It's
Like,
pretty
I was
hot.
so nervous about the leasing market because we've got a bunch of clients closing on a bunch of condos, and they all kind of, I feel like they all came to market at the same time. Couple projects in LaSalle, project on Walker, Stella in Forest Glade, Soho in South Windsor. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of units, and they're all moving pretty good. You look at Soho right now, one available, I think, because it came up yesterday. Stella's moving pretty good right now. LaSalle's moving fantastic, all those units. And the people are here. The people are coming.
like
And
you
the
said.
people we're leasing to are people coming in to work here. They're fantastic tenants.
Like we said, there's no fun without fundamentals.
That's
and let's be honest, the fundamentals have never been worse for a buyer right now. If you're trying to buy a home, the affordability is at record lows. You're forced to rent. Okay, even high income people making 100, 150K a year or dual incomes at that price range. Unless you have really good credit and a bunch of money in the bank, it's still hard to buy. So what you do is you end up turning to the rental market. And we talk about this all the time. I remember driving down the 401 on my way to Toronto over the past decade before I was really in real estate. And I used to drive by tower after tower after tower and said, who the hell lives in all these places?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Coming from Windsor, right? Because it was so cheap here. And there's just thousands of towers all over. And it turns out they're all renters because nobody owns a home.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to own a home or they can't afford to. This is all over Europe. It's all over many other countries around the world. It's new to Windsor. This is going to be the future, like it or not. I don't like it, but it's going to be the future. It's going to be a lot more renters. And right now, I think we're at 65-35 home ownership to renter. That's going to flip. It's going to be 65 renter, 35 owner. Not promoting this, don't like it. They've screwed up the housing market too bad to probably ever recover. So what are they doing? They're saying, hey, we need every developer we can to go build rental units because we can't build single family homes affordably. You can't. It costs too much money, right? You can't build something for 400K or even rentable for 2K. You've got to build rental units. And unfortunately, that's what's happening now. So if you're an investor, it might be great news. If you're a first-time home buyer, get yourself a home.
Get in.
Get in before it's too late. I'm not saying it's next year or anything that it might be too late, but sometime in the next 5 or 10 years, it might be the way trends are going, unfortunately. So,
wow, some hardcore stats and facts on this episode of WSPN. Guys, if you need any more information or you have any questions about real estate, you know the drill, right? Reach out to me or Scott. We'd be more than happy to serve you. It'd be an honor. And Scott, welcome back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Okay. He walks off, leaving me here by myself.
I wasn't really leaving. I was still staying. You can put this at the end too. This is the end of it.